Assalamualaikum Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, I'm Putri Siregar from English Department, University of Sumatera Utara. In this opportunity, I want to tell you about sound system in English loanwords into Japanese. This is about phonological process. According to Sen, the phonological process in which there is a change in the sound of the language goes by several ways. There is the result of process of assimilation, immersion, attenuation, and strengthening in the syllable structure, neutralization, and metathesis. We know the relation between one foreign language and another causes an exchange and absorption of culture and language. So, in Japanese, gairago, a borrowed vocabulary that comes from European languages, and Japanese has adopted a lot of vocabulary because it has very few sound. And gairago usually written in katakana letters and changes its sound. And it also called katakana go, or katakana word, which changes its sound after being adapted into Japanese phonological system. There are also several phonemes which cannot be accepted in Japanese. Next, Japanese phonology system. There are four phonemes in Japanese phonology system. First, vowels A, I, U, E, O. Consonants K, G, S, Z, T, D, C, and H, P, B, M, R. Semivowels W and J. Special phonemes Q and R. Phonology is a science that studies the sounds of the language. So phonology is the right study to observe this. The first one is the addition O at the end of the word to avoid consonant sounds at the ends of the word. Now remember this, the English phonological system is different from Japanese phonological system. This occurs in English words that in the consonant T, D, and are preceded by the previous consonant letter. Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the pronunciation system for alteral positive sounds. Example, in English, we say that keyword or standard, but in Japanese, we say that keyword and standard and etc. Next, the addition of U at the end of the word is in words that end in consonant S, P, and F. Because Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the pronunciation system for consonant sounds except for sounds N. For example, in English, we say that type, speech, dress. But in Japanese, we say that type, speech, dress, and etc. Next, the insertion or appendices of O in the middle of the word is inserted after the consonant D and T because the words adapted in Japanese phonological system will adjust the phonological rules in Japanese too. For example, drama and trend, but in Japanese, we say that dorama and torrendo. Next, the process of inserting U in the middle of the word. Appendices too, when there are phonemes G, F, P, K, B, and S. Because this is just the existing phonological rules in Japanese. For example, in English, we say that glass, grape, or prototype. But in Japanese, we say that glass, grape, and prototype, etc. Next, phoneme substitution. L becomes R because in Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the literal L sound. For example, in English, we say that milk, install, salary. But in Japanese, we say that milk, install, salary, and etc. Next, the substitution B becomes B because Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the phoneme B. So for example, in English we say that narrative service, but in Japanese we say that narrative service, etc. Next, the addition of E in English words that end in consonant Ch and J because Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the pronunciation system for the alveolar palatal sound and recognizes an open syllable system or syllables that always end in a vowel sound. For example, in English, we say that coach, and lunch. But in Japanese, we say that kochi, lunch, etc. Next, the substitution of phoneme T becomes C because Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize the sound T but only sounds Chi. For example, in English, we say that ticket and team, but in Japanese we say that chiketto, chim, and etc. The conclusion: 8 phonological rules. The addition of U at the end of the word, the addition of O at the end of the word, the addition of U in the middle of the word, the addition of O in the middle of a word, substitution of phoneme L become R, substitution of phoneme V become B, the addition of I, the substitution of phoneme T becomes G. So the process of phonological change is based on internal differences in the phonological system in Japanese and English. The Japanese phonological system doesn't recognize an open syllable system, so almost all words absorbed from English into Japanese will be adjusted to the existing phonological system in Japanese. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for your attention and goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.